I just wanted to give you a short introduction of the DiSC. Of course, the center is a center of excellence. It aims to bring together research, education, and practice. And it is organized around two concepts, collaboration. So to achieve collaboration, overarching the two notions that also Philip just mentioned, and the co-creation, a mission of co-creation of knowledge and dissemination of knowledge and know-how, so make it actionable. I zoom into the two elements a little bit, and I bring some example, hopefully illustrative for everybody independently from your background, that for me they were inspired by recent pieces on the news. So the first pillar we want to invest in is for collaboration is sustainable digitalization. Here is a definition that I think is overarching: the preservation of the long-term use of digital solutions and their appropriate evolution. Now, this is an example that for me was inspiring. Recent news, it was criticizing the tax and customs administration in the Netherlands and reporting that in the last 10 years, the ICT costs grew by over 80%, reaching in 2022 over 850 million euro, of which 200 million euros are dedicated to external ICT expertise. There are many sources of these ICT costs that span from the need to renovate the systems, the technology, to making sure that the software and the legacy software is still running, so it's remain running, and to, for instance, security fixes and support for flexible working. So all of these new requirements require evolution and stability in the digital solutions that we develop. And my point, you might argue that it is not a thing of, for instance, the public sector only or specific to this case, is actually a demand for any sector nowadays, because society is digitalized. So my point is that society needs digitalization to be sustainable. We cannot afford not to be so. And with the center, we want to create innovative know-hows that bring stability as an essential property of digital solutions, meaning that it's not that we develop projects and then they are delivered and then evolution of this digitalization is an afterthought, but must be embraced in how we design this solution in the first place. Now, the other side of the coin, digitalization for sustainability, adds in the context of digitalization the beneficial use of digital solution over time. Now, in other words, we must ensure that the intended benefits for both the planet and society are preserved over time, in spite of differences in the context, like in spite of difference in the people, in the laws and regulation, in the cultures, and also in the access of the level of sophistication of technology. For me, an example is also this recent piece of news. Van der Bron, one of the energy distributors in the Netherlands, Van der Bron wants to provide 100% renewable energy for 100% of the time. Some think that this is not realistic, but the approach that they take is we want to have smart digital solution as well as influence the behavioral change in society so that this 100% of the time is also realized. For instance, for the smart digital solution, they enable, obviously, to have access to the renewable energy resources in a mix so that they are available both during the day and overnight. And this involves not only, for instance, wind and solar, but also the access to resources like the servers in our house, or also the assets of the people, like, for instance, the battery of your electric car. And the behavioral change entails, for example, that I learn about new practices, like charging the EV battery during the day while the sun is shining on the solar panels of my house, so that we go nearer to the consumption of energy goes nearer to the production. So what we want to do is to create digitalization that by design is meant to achieve the set sustainability goals. And we do that for security. We can do that also for energy footprint of digital solution and other sustainability goals like inclusivity. Going to our mission for knowledge co-creation, we want the knowledge to be first relevant via high quality research. We want research to address complex and important problems for society and from our partners. Some researches are already emerging. It's available in the Netherlands, in many different universities, but also everywhere. So what we want to do is to steer all these great minds, also in many different disciplines, like, again, Philip mentioned before, towards these complex problems for society. We want the knowledge to be useful for society. This is just an example. We will go back, Jeroen will go back later in his presentation, of research that we did in collaboration with the Amsterdam Economic Board that was one of the starting points for the foundation of the coalition the national coalition, sustainable digitalization. And third, we want the knowledge to be know-hows, to be actionable. This is also another example from the news, in which basically the European Union is planning for new laws in order to both go towards standards, but also to make sure that there are no misleading claims, no greenwashing in the way organizations and products are presented to society, to the general public. So for this aim, we need solid quantifications, solid measurements. And this is, again, something that we need to do together in any sector, in fact, not only digital solutions. In the center, we already started 3 types of instruments. And I bring some example of ongoing initiatives. We have labs. So a lab is each a collaboration between a funding industrial partners, one or multiple, and together with VUE researchers that provide the right expertises. The example, we have one lab already funded by ABN AMRO. We have one panelist present in the room, so maybe we go back to that later on, but I will also zoom in a little bit in the next slide. Education platform, we foresee both researchers and education modules that allow to create new expertise, but also student projects that allow also for the next generation to get in touch with these complex problems I mentioned before and create building blocks in the right direction. Examples are, for instance, are all open source, this example, and traceable via the center website. And we have an open archive for reusable tactics, for cloud, for edge, for many different sectors. We have a toolkit for sustainability assessment and related education modules for instance, creating new skills to adopt sustainability in any type of digital solutions. And OpenDC, a cloud data center simulation, also to investigate certain questions about the impacts. And last but not least, outreach. The way we want to disseminate the knowledge can be by co-creation, for instance, to create coalitions in which we exchange expertise, and in this way we also update the workforce of the future, and we create that on specific topics. We have collaboration. We have a lot of many different experts from many different disciplines, not only computer science, but from social science, environmental science, and so forth. And then we already started a number of projects that are interdisciplinary, for instance, on the topic of sustainable cloud that involve all the disciplines that I mentioned before. And these are thanks to the collaboration with ASI and the Network Institute that focuses on the digital society. That is also possible. And last but not least, cross-fertilization also with the general public. We have a collaboration with IT Circle Netherlands to start in the future, for instance, webinars that allow also to disseminate further, but also for the partners and the researchers to disseminate what they are doing. Zooming into this example, near to my heart, this is the lab that aims, as you see here in the middle, in the big arrow, to address a very long-term research question problem of creating a sustainability measurement quality model, and in doing so, at the same time, create tangible tactics to optimize the portfolio of digital solutions. So the applications, for instance, in this case, of ABN AMRO, which is our industrial partner. On the lower part, you see a number of blocks, which are what we call the Master Research Lab. We have cycles of 6 months in which our students, they work on very specific projects that you can say, for instance, feasibility studies or experiments. And on the upper part, we have the PhD research, in which the PhD focuses more on the long-term vision and long-term research, which is also embedded in the company. And in green is what we completed already, and orange what is still ongoing, and then what is planned. And of course, thanks to this 6-month cycle, we are able to, depending on the results, to steer the research in the right direction. Let me give an example of the last 6 months installation. So of course, when you want to optimize software applications, you first need to understand what you have to measure. So in the first 6 months, we investigated what is possible to measure for the energy footprint of over 6,000 applications. And then we also created a pipeline, a process, in order to see how we can embed this measurement process continuously in the organization. So on the right-hand side, you see few of the applications and what is their energy footprint. And then when we know, like we do now, which are the most energy eager applications, then the next step was to identify how can we apply which tactics to potentially optimize the energy consumption of these most eager applications. So we built a set of 164 tactics. And for us, of course, next step from February is with a new master research with our students to start measuring the application of these tactics and see if this optimization leads to what improvements. So this is just an example how these labs could work. So to conclude my introduction, we can do a lot together. You can join our community. You can start a new lab, build new competencies internally, adopt know-hows that I mentioned, example, open source, and also we are very welcome to propose things that could be fitting also to accelerate the knowledge that we want to create. Thank you.